Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Just to tie a quick bow on the ZEV credit segment from Tuesday, I was only approaching that from the United States market. It is true, Tesla can earn ZEV credits outside the US market in both China and Europe, but the percentage breakdown is unknown. So any number you see out there is just an estimate, and I've seen estimates as low as 40% of reg credits coming from the United States, and other estimates as high as 80%. And while I am expecting the reg credit revenue to slow down for Tesla starting as soon as the back half of this year, do not forget that Congressional Review Act is facing a lot of legal challenges, so nothing is a done deal yet. But let me be clear, the way the winds are blowing not just in the United States, but in Europe as well, leads me to believe over the next 2 years plus, we should be expecting less regulatory credit revenue for Tesla. Just like the US, the EU started off strong with a broader framework aiming for 100% zero emission new car sales by 2035, but there have been plenty of flexibilities introduced just this year. So now their standards are more forgiving, which reduces the likelihood and the scale of penalties for non-compliance. And the same cannot be said for China because if anything, their emission standards are tightening, not easing. But you have to factor in there are hundreds of other electric vehicles available for sale in the Chinese market as well, so it's by far the most competitive EV market in the world. AKA, not as many companies would need to rely on Tesla to buy credits from. I'm driving this point home because I want everybody to be prepared for Tesla's financials to potentially get worse before they get better given these regulatory changes. Less reg credit revenue, no EV tax credits, the investment tax credit of 30% for megapack purchases going away next year, among other things, and Tesla's profitability is likely to take a hit over the next 12 months. Because remember, unsupervised FSD is gonna take a while to become a profitable business line. And it's true, this may all be irrelevant for Tesla stock because this is all public info and the stock has held up pretty strong. And I've been of the camp traditional valuation metrics are mostly out the window in the AI era. We got some exciting Robotaxi news as Elon said on X we're expanding to a larger service area in Austin this weekend. This was said 17 days after Tesla launched the service in Austin on June 22nd, so by the time they expand this weekend, we'll call that 3 weeks. I will be tracking these data points very closely. We can't derive too much from just one, but as we have 3, 4, 5 announcements about the expansion of the program, we will have a much better understanding of how fast this rollout is actually going to happen. Elon was asked when the Bay Area, to which he said waiting on regulatory approvals, but probably in a month or two. That timeline would put us somewhere between August 9th and September 9th. As far as we know, there's still only 11 or so robotaxis active in the fleet, but I would expect that number to increase this weekend. Tesla doesn't want to let wait times exceed 10 minutes, and depending on how big this expansion is, the only way to ensure that won't happen without reducing the number of people with access to the network is by expanding the vehicles in operation. Bradford shared the image that Stephen Mark Ryan came up with originally for a potential expansion area of this robotaxi network, to which the official Tesla Robotaxi account replied saying, "Now who would do such a thing? Certainly not us. No." So interpret that however you'd like to, but I would say there's at least a chance that the expansion of the geographic region will look something like this. And in case that was not enough evidence, Farzad shared the same picture from SMR, to which Elon replied with the hand over mouth emoji, which usually signifies giggling. And hey, as Elon likes to say, if you can't have a bit of fun along the way, then what are we doing? I told you guys, Elon has recommended using a VPN a few times in the past. I've shared I first learned about Surfshark from Matt Farrell on Undecided years ago, and now Mr. Beast, who can work with any VPN on planet Earth, has chosen to recommend Surfshark. It's quite simple. The FTC released this report in 2021 saying many internet service providers collect troves of personal data. Scroll down a bit and find many ISPs collect and share far more data about their customers than many consumers expect, including real-time location data. Listen, I don't want anyone tracking my every move or my location, which is why I'm still using Surfshark in 2025, the sponsor of this video. Surfshark is a VPN that encrypts your online activity, meaning your ISP will no longer be able to see your online activity. It allows me to browse the internet free of ads, pop-ups, and trackers. And you have nothing to lose, as Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. You can connect Surfshark to an unlimited number of devices so you can protect your whole family with one account. Surfshark has a no logs policy, meaning it does not monitor, track, or store what you do online, and they have excellent 24/7 support if you ever need it. But the user interface is super simple and easy to use. One click and you're connected in seconds. So if you'd like to support the work I do here, you can go to surfshark.com/electrified or use code electrified at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. Now, when it comes to Tesla's expansion in the Bay Area, here is a map for those not familiar. San Francisco is a part of the overall Bay Area, and when people refer to Silicon Valley, it's situated mostly in Santa Clara and San Mateo. Now, an important clarification here, just like Tesla said they're launching in Austin, well, the first geographic region does not cover all of Austin. So just because Tesla's planning to launch in the Bay Area does not mean on day one they're going to be active across all of the Bay Area. Now, if I had to guess, it would make sense that Tesla launches in the Bay Area, specifically in Palo Alto, which is in the northwestern part of Santa Clara, which is where Tesla's been running its Robotaxi network for employees now for longer than they've been in Austin. So once the regulations allow it, Tesla should have that area down pat by now. And remember on Tesla's Q1 call when they said they plan to be in many cities in the US by the end of this year with the Robotaxi network? Well, that's coming to fruition, as Sawyer was in touch with the Arizona Department of Transportation, and they confirmed Tesla did reach out to them about ride-sharing services on June 26th to begin the certification process. Tesla has applied for both autonomous vehicle testing and operating with a driver, and testing and operating without a driver. A decision on those is expected at the end of the month, which would be the end of July. They have expressed interest in operating within the Phoenix metro area. Here's a map of a portion of Arizona, and the blue highlighted part is Phoenix. Now, an important distinction, the Phoenix metro area is actually a lot broader than just Phoenix. Phoenix itself covers an area of about 518 square miles, whereas the Phoenix metro area covers one of about 14,500 square miles. So the Phoenix metro map would bump this out to include areas like Mesa and Gilbert and Chandler, among some other cities as well. And a fun fact, I actually lived in Chandler, Arizona for 1 year after college. That's where my training for Edward Jones was. And I can make that a bit relevant for this video because I can tell you that the streets in this area are incredibly easy. It's basically all one giant grid. So what do I mean when I say the plan is now clear? Let's have a look at Waymo's website where they are currently active. One city Waymo's in, Phoenix. They're covering downtown Phoenix, Tempe, Mesa, and Chandler. Why did I say Silicon Valley earlier? Because Waymo is currently active in Silicon Valley. And yes, they are covering Palo Alto. Another city Waymo's active in, San Francisco, which, if you've been paying attention, is part of the Bay Area. So clearly, Tesla is starting off where Waymo is. There are two main reasons for this. Number one, it's an area where residents are already familiar with robotaxis for ride-hailing. And two, the regulators in these areas are already familiar with Waymo and have some data and should be quick to allow Tesla to follow suit and offer up competition for those markets to drive down pricing and let the residents benefit. It's true that Waymo's active in Austin and Atlanta as well, but that's only through Uber. And the one other city where Waymo is operating independent of Uber is in Los Angeles. So far, we haven't heard anything about Tesla planning to expand to Los Angeles, but I won't be surprised one bit if that's on the list of the next few cities we hear about. If you go to the Tesla careers page and search for autopilot jobs in the US, you'll find a few jobs for data collection supervisor for autopilot and vehicle operator for autopilot. But have a look at the cities. One is Tempe, Arizona, which is in the Phoenix metro area. Another one is Henderson, Nevada. A third one is Palo Alto, which is in the Bay Area, as we've covered. And a fourth city, somewhat of an outlier based on what's public right now, Jacksonville, Florida. And shout out to Phil for highlighting those job postings. So listen, you guys know I don't love the Tesla and Waymo comparisons, but just to give you a sense, Waymo launched its first paid ride in 2018, which means it's taken them about 7 years to be operating in 4 cities independently of any third party. I'll say it again, 4 cities in 7 years. The way things are going right now, it looks like Tesla will be in at least 3 cities within 6 months. So from here, we just sit back and watch the thesis unfold. Speaking of sitting back and relaxing, Elon said that Grok is coming to Tesla vehicles very soon, next week at the latest. We already covered everything that Green the Only shared with us last week about this Grok integration and what it's going to look like. So at this point, I don't feel the need to speculate on what vehicles it'll be in what geographies it'll be released, because soon enough, we're going to have those answers. Now, a lot of people naturally are wondering if Grok 4 will be available in the vehicles. I'm guessing there's at least a chance that nobody knows what version of Grok it is, but whatever it is, it's not going to be the final version. And for me, I'm keeping my expectations low in terms of what parts of the vehicle you'll be able to control with Grok at the beginning. But as I said last week, over time, I do believe that will become much more robust. But if we can audibly interact with Grok 4 or even Grok 3 while we drive or supervise, all I would say for now is this does feel like Christmas in July. In a new filing, Tesla's board of directors has said that November 6th this year will be Tesla's annual meeting of shareholders, which, yes, is indeed later than usual, but we've been expecting that now for some time. This is likely going to be a pretty important meeting as Tesla needs to figure out 2 big items. What's going on with Elon's compensation, and how is Tesla going to get Elon 25% voting control of the company? The delay could be caused by various factors, but I'm guessing at least part of it is to allow time for Elon's 2018 compensation plan appeal to be settled. The expectation is that the case could be finalized by November or December of this year. And we heard earlier this year that Tesla has formed a special committee to work on Elon's new pay package. So there's a chance, even if they don't have a final decision on the 2018 plan, a new plan that's not tied to that will be ready for voting at this meeting. And if the 2018 appeal gets rejected, then perhaps Tesla has an alternative strategy to get Elon paid for the past 7 years. And this is more minor, but it also gives Tesla a few more months to execute on the Robotaxi rollout, which should help some of the voting investor base get excited about Tesla's progress, to encourage shareholders to vote in favor of letting Elon swing for the fences again. So now would be the time to contact your broker if you've had problems in the past voting your Tesla shares. The best person in my eyes to follow if you have questions or want a little bit of guidance in this realm would be Alexandra, Tesla Boomer Mama. I'll have her account linked below. She does an awesome job helping shareholders get all of this sorted out. And the major wild card here, I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, but we could be voting on either ownership for Tesla or a merger with XAI. It makes so much sense after what Elon said during the XAI live stream last night, which is that basically they've ran out of training data. So to keep progressing, they want to have Grok interact with the real world to learn physics firsthand and to interact with the world to generate more data to continually train the model. And how does XAI plan to do that? Well, with Optimus. And we already know Grok is coming to Tesla vehicles, and maybe Tesla could use Colossus compute for FSD or Optimus. We know xAI is using Tesla Megapacks for its data centers, and I could go on, but there's at least a non-0% chance something official happens to connect Tesla and xAI financially beyond just working together and all of these synergies. So we shall see. All I will say for now, if Elon has a new pay package in place heading into 2026, it's shaping up to be a wildly exciting year for Tesla. And the way I see it, even if Elon doesn't have a new pay package heading into next year, it's still going to be an awesome year for Tesla. Joe Tetmeyer shared an update on the Cybercab line. He said it's almost completed at Giga Texas. The advanced test production, line refinement, and other tests are already underway, as are the casting manufacturing for the front underbody and the rear subframe, and installed production equipment. I suspect we'll begin to see newly manufactured Cybercabs in pre-acceptance format driving around Giga Texas by the end of August at the latest, and then sometime in the fourth quarter, initial production at low rates, then ramping into 2026. That is slightly ahead of my timeline, but you guys know I like to keep my expectations low. However, Joe is on site often, so I figured I would pass that along. A quick update on the lack of a front bumper camera for the Model 3, specifically with AI4. Green the Only shared this picture from a 2023 Model X with a front camera attached to the formerly empty connector, and it works. You can see he has a camera connected to the port that he's holding right here, and that camera visualization is shown in the UI right here on the top part of the screen. The question becomes, does your Model 3 or whatever model it is with AI4 that does not have a front bumper camera have the port that enables you to connect a front bumper camera to it? When it comes to the Model 3, Green said some late 2024 cars were observed as having the port. And the question was asked, so Tesla can potentially offer a retrofit easily if they want to which Green said yes. Meaning a front bumper camera retrofit for vehicles with AI4, if you have that front port, would indeed be easier for Tesla than the retrofit going from hardware 3 to AI4. So again, this would not work for every AI4 sexy model, only the ones that have that front port populated. So while this is encouraging, I need to say, just because Tesla could do a retrofit does not mean Tesla is going to offer one. But for any of you like me that have an AI4 vehicle without a front bumper camera, there's absolutely hope. This one turns out to be true. There are a few local sources from Madrid saying that Tesla's testing of FSD in its region was not actually approved. Madrid City Council's delegate for urban planning warned Friday that Tesla vehicles have been driving on the city's streets with self-driving cars do not have the necessary permits for their use. This permit must be issued by the General Directorate of Traffic. So now, the DGT has approached Tesla to request explanations regarding the use of its vehicle on public roads. Now, I don't think any punishment will come from this, but it's just a clear indication that Tesla is not waiting around for these regulators where it can, and it's doing everything in its power to push the technology forward to gather enough data to give to these regulators to prove that this technology belongs on the road everywhere. Tesla Chan is going to get to test the Robotaxi network, and they shared a screenshot of the Robotaxi app saying, "I did not do any separate language settings, but it's impressive that the UI automatically supports Korean." This supply chain services company, ThyssenKrupp, which is how I'm going to pronounce it after spending far too much time trying to find the proper one, has been busy evaluating the Tesla Semi. With live diagnostics and transparent performance data, the vehicle provides greater oversight and real-time visibility to customers on key logistics metrics, things like driver speed, delivery routes, and efficiency. ThyssenKrupp has been a trusted logistics partner to Tesla since 2015. That press release was very sparse with actual information. Luckily though, Dan Priestley said, "Working with our suppliers and logistics partners to electrify Tesla's supply chain. With lower cost and higher reliability, it just makes sense." ThyssenKrupp pushed the truck hard over this demo and now plans to integrate the semi into their fleet. All ThyssenKrupp really said was that their testing covered about 5,000 miles in winter conditions, but they haven't said anything about how many Tesla semis they plan to incorporate. We also have another company, ArcBest, piloting the Tesla Semi. Over a 3-week period, ABF operated a Tesla Semi across typical dispatch lanes, including over-the-road routes between service centers in Reno, Nevada and Sacramento, California. The pilot also included regional runs in the Bay Area and rail shuttle operations. The Tesla Semi logged 4,500 miles, averaging 321 miles per day with an overall energy efficiency of 1.55 kilowatt hours per mile. They said the vehicle performed well across a variety of routes, including the climb over Donner Pass, and generally matched the performance of its diesel counterparts. Driver feedback was positive, with operators noting the vehicle's comfort, safety, and ease of use. Features like the center seat configuration, wide visibility, and intuitive controls contributed to a strong driver experience. They said while the pilot demonstrated strong performance and driver acceptance, it also highlighted the need for continued development of charging infrastructure to support broader deployment across longer routes. All they said was ArcBest will continue to assess the long-term viability of Class 8 EVs within its fleet. In case you're not familiar, that efficiency metric of 1.55 kilowatt hours per mile is pretty incredible. Most of the competition right now would be in a range between 1.8 and 2.5 kilowatt hours per mile, and given it's an efficiency metric, the lower number, the better. And just simple math, if the Tesla Semi battery pack is around 900 kilowatt hours divided by 1.55 kilowatt hours per mile, that would be about 580 miles per charge. And yes, of course that number would vary based on the freight and the weather and the route, but that 1.55 number is an excellent mark. As Sawyer pulled from Weibo, BYD has announced that it's now promising to take responsibility for losses and damage to cars with its God's Eye assisted driving systems in smart parking scenarios in China. RJ Scaringe gave a new interview and he took some shots at Legacy Auto, saying existing automakers don't actually want to sell EVs. You see, a lot of the incumbents, they're the biggest adversaries in any of the EV policies. All the work we're trying to do to even get it to just be a fair game on things like registration costs, the folks we spend the most energy on fighting against in DC are actually car companies. And so that's very, very telling, because it's reflective of their desire, which is that this whole EV thing would just go away. And he then takes a shot at their EV offerings, saying the EVs most automakers offer are emblematic of this. And since they're not particularly compelling on their own, he said they'll struggle in a world where tariffs and the disappearance of the tax credit drive up prices. RJ did say these regulatory changes are, for Rivian, probably a good thing from a competitive landscape point of view, which you can definitely make the argument for, because most of these legacy auto companies are now going to produce less EVs. And given that GM makes most of its electric vehicles outside of the United States now, it'll be very interesting to watch if they can keep up their EV sales momentum over the next year. And unfortunately for overall EV adoption in the US, he said, I think in 2030 we're going to have an even worse situation than we have today in terms of lack of choice and lack of competition. So that's bad for EV adoption, but great for Tesla, Rivian, and even Lucid investors. RJ said today, under $50,000, there are maybe two great choices with the Model 3 and the Model Y. Trump has said that the US is intending to place a 50% tariff on copper imports, but there's nothing official on this yet, so I'll keep an eye on it. But if it becomes official, then we'll take a look at what this could mean for Tesla. Have a look at the latest pictures of the Tesla diner that could be opening as soon as Q3. I have no idea how this is going to play out, but Trump has now called for a 300 basis point interest rate cut, which would be the biggest in US history. So clearly that would be unprecedented, but for asset prices, that would be a massive win. That's at least in the short term, because then long term, the question of inflation would come back into focus. But it's certainly something to watch. Elon said the value of AI companies will exceed non-AI probably by an order of magnitude. On that note, Tesla stock closed the day at $309.87, up 4.73%, while the NDX was down 0.16%. It was a surprisingly low volume day for Tesla, trading 10% below the average. Don't forget to take Elon's advice and check out Surfshark, linked below for those interested. And as always, thanks for supporting the channel in that way. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Please like the video. If you did, you can find me on X, linked below. And a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.